Hi all, Mary Bulger here, Naturalist with Iowa County Conservation, and I want to welcome you to one of our virtual wild edible series. Today we are going to be talking about the black raspberry, and we're going to be using it to make a really yummy, delicious, refreshing summer treat, black raspberry sorbet. So first I'll just kind of go over some of the tools and things that you'll need, and then we'll go through the recipe. It's a really simple, easy recipe. The only thing that really takes the longest is the freezing of the sorbet. It takes a few hours, but we'll kind of go through the process up until when you need to put that in the freezer, and then we will I'll show you an example of some that I've made this week previous. So really simple recipe. I'm going to grab my camera here and turn it around, and we're going to look at some of the things that you're going to need here for this recipe. So as far as ingredients, the only thing you're going to need are frozen black raspberries and sweet and condensed milk. For one of my batches that I made earlier in the week, for my blender, it's a little bit thick, and so I used a couple of tablespoons of milk. And so a few of the other tools that you'll be using, you could use a bigger kind of juicer or blender, but I'm using one of these small kind of smoothie bullet blenders. So just using one canister, so I'm doing kind of a small batch today, and then of course the base that it goes on. For the sweetened condensed milk, you'll need a couple of big spoons to kind of help get some of the sorbet out of the container. Now when you're freezing these, you can do it in a couple of different ways. You can do it in a container that you can put in the freezer with a lid that can be airtight, or use one of these cool little popsicle things with the tops. They're really neat to do. If you do go this route, make sure before you try to pull those popsicles out that you soak the bottom here in some warm water so they all come out nice and evenly as popsicles. Ice cube tray and do it that way. Freeze them and with toothpicks in them to have them as little popsicles. So, and then also here's the base of my blender. Again, you can use a very large blender if you want to do your recipe here today. So like I said, I'm just going to do a small batch here today and kind of just go quickly through the process of what we're going to do, and then I will show you the examples of what I made earlier today, and then just talk a few facts about black raspberries. With the recipe that I am using, I found is 3 cups of frozen black raspberries, or any raspberry if you prefer the reds as opposed to that, and 3 tablespoons of sweetened condensed milk. So I'm having that because I'm doing a smaller batch in my small kind of bullet blender, and so I'm doing 1.5 cups of frozen black raspberries, and 2 tablespoons of the sweetened condensed milk. So put that in half. So what you want to do, if you want to, you can break these up. It's important that they be kind of frozen a little bit. They melt pretty quickly, so they can be a little bit juicy, but that's okay because that'll help them blend. So 1.5 cups there of your raspberries, and then you want to take your sweetened condensed milk, and I'm going to do 2 tablespoons here. Now this recipe, raspberries are a little bit of a tart berry, but they do have a little bit of sweetness to them. And this sorbets aren't quite as sweet as ice cream. They have a little bit of tartness, and so it has a good balance. So if you're one of those people that doesn't like really, really sweet ice creams and things, this is a great recipe for you, and it's really easy to make during the summertime. Go out and harvest some raspberries. Right now we're kind of at the end of the raspberry season, but guess what? The next berry that's coming, and there's some that are ripe already, are the blackberries, so you can make this recipe with blackberries as well. All right, so we got 2 tablespoons of sweetened condensed milk, 1.5 cups of frozen black raspberries. So I want to put my lid on, make sure it's nice and tight, and I'm going to put it in my blender. Now it's going to get loud, so I'll move my camera so you can kind of watch, and we'll see how it goes. Prepare for some noise. And if you're using a bullet blender like this and you find that it's a little bit too thick of a mixture, which it can be with those frozen blackberries, what you can do is take this off, take the lid off, and add a couple tablespoons, or you can start with 1 tablespoon of milk. I have right here, I have Fairlife milk, which is lactose free. If that's a concern for you, you can find alternatives for that. I think I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons here. And also giving it, turning it off and then giving it a little bit of a shake. That'll help things mix up as well. Bring it back down. Let's see how it's looking. I'm going to use my serving spoon here and kind of, yeah, it looks like it is all pretty blended. Let me show you guys here. If you take a look, it's all nice and blended. Now, because raspberries are very seedy, if you're a person that doesn't like a lot of seeds, some of them have been kind of broken up, but there's going to be some seeds in there. If you don't like that, what you can do is run this through another step, a fine mesh sieve, and that will make sure all of those bits of seeds get out. But it's just kind of like eating, I don't know if you've ever had those whole fruit popsicles. There's little pieces of fruit and seeds in there, and I kind of like. And I'm going to just place this inside of my container. And like I said, you can use any kind of container that has a lid that can be airtight that you're going to put in your freezer, and or popsicle things if you want to make some popsicles there. So what you do is you put your lid on, and then you take this and put it in the freezer for about 3 or so hours, and then you will be frozen. So I'm going to show you some examples that I made earlier this week in a couple of different containers here. Pick up my camera so I can show it to you a little bit closer. So this is just kind of a glass bottom container with a plastic lid. That works just fine if you have those, or those plastic containers with a plastic lid, as long as it can be airtight. And I've let this thaw. It has a little bit of a different texture than regular ice cream, so it's a little more icy. It has those kind of little bits of seed and fruit, which I really like, and is really great. It's really simple. It's a fun project for families to go do. You can go and harvest the any kind of berry, and really do this with blackberries that are coming up here soon too, and also raspberries or strawberries, whatever kind of berry you like the best. This is a really simple project that you can go outside and harvest those berries. Make sure that wherever you're doing that from, whether it's in your yard or at a park, that it is okay to do that, especially if you're going to a different park and you know for sure that your berries are free from pesticides and things that are sprayed on them. So I just wanted to show you a few pictures of and some examples of what the canes from the black. Again, we're just kind of at the end of the raspberry season right now. And if you take a close look, and we'll kind of compare, our next kind of wild edible that we're going to be doing is blackberries, and they're going to be a little bit different. Though black raspberries and blackberries often get confused. The berries look different, and the leaves and the canes are different. So we'll kind of compare these two in our wild edible series here. So in each stem with the raspberries, you can see there are 3 leaves. They can be a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger like this. One of the keys on the leaves that are different, you can see there's kind of a lighter silvery color here and green on the top. The blackberry leaves are different. They have a long kind of wooden stem, or we call that a cane, that's very prickly. It has a lot of kind of thorns on there, small thorns. That's one way that the berry or the plant protects itself. And right now, this is kind of a little bit dried out, but you can see it, that these are where the berries used to be, and they usually have multiple berries per stem for those blackberries. Here's a really good close-up picture of some black raspberries. That one blackberry right here, that is a ripe berry. The rest of these that are more red are not quite ripe yet. And a little bit of a close-up picture here on when you have the berries kind of on the inside. One way you can tell the difference between blackberries and black raspberries is by looking at the berry where you take the berry off. You see there's this little kind of hole or this little indent right here on the blackberry, the raspberry. And that's true of them because they have a little bit of a different way that they're attached to the stem, whereas blackberries don't have that. And we'll look at the blackberries when we do our next wild edible series here. So raspberries are a really great source of antioxidants. In fact, they're one of the fruits that have one of health benefits, and they're really healthy for you. Now, there are different kinds of raspberries. There are the red raspberries, and then there are the black raspberries. We have both of them here in Iowa. A lot of people grow them in their yards, different cultivars, but we do also have wild ones too. Some nicknames for the black raspberries: Black Caps is one, or King of Berries, because they are delicious and a lot of people love them. And so their peak berry time or peak fruiting, we're just at the end of that for the black raspberry. So we're going to be starting with the blackberries soon. We'll be doing that for our next wild edible series. So if you have any questions for me about black raspberries or any of the other wild edibles in general, please put those in our comments. Or if you have any requests for wild edibles, recipes that maybe you want to try, we'll be doing blackberries next. So if you have a request for a recipe, let me know. You can put that in the comments or send us a message. If you're looking for places to find wild blackberries here in Iowa County, if you're in Iowa County, Lake Iowa Park has a ton. Also, we have another park, Gunderson Wildlife Area, which is just north of Marengo, Iowa, and there are a lot of blackberries there that are just starting to be in fruit. Thanks very much for watching today, and please go out, harvest some berries, and try this wonderful, delicious treat, raspberry or any really berry sorbet. Thanks for watching today, guys. Have a great day.